Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I have just addressed on behalf of my government a letter to both the Secretary General of the United Nations as well as to the President of the Council of the Security Council. The letter contains a request by the Syrian government to the Secretary General to mandate immediately the investigation team present now in Damascus to investigate 3 heinous incidents that took place in the countryside of Damascus on the 22nd, 24th, and 25th, where members of the Syrian army inhaled poisonous gas as a result of the use by the terrorist armed groups of chemical agents close to what we call the nerve gas, the sarin. Dozens of Syrian soldiers are currently treated in the Syrian hospitals due to this use of chemical agents by the terrorist armed groups operating in the countryside of Damascus. So the Syrian government is requesting the Secretary General to immediately instruct the investigation team operating now in Damascus to investigate immediately these 3 heinous crimes. This letter, this last letter, comes after 419 other letters addressed to the Secretary General and the members of the Security Council since the beginning of the crisis in Syria, which means we have addressed so far 420 letters describing all the details related to all developments pertaining to the Syrian crisis. So there is no excuse whatsoever to anybody in the Council or in the Secretariat to say that they are not aware of what's going on in Syria. We did our best to inform everybody about all the details related to this situation. I am in your hands.
Do you want the team to find out, assign responsibility for the incidents that you're saying? Do you want them to go out and say who did it? And also, when did Angela Kane actually request to visit Ghouta? There seems to be some disparity between when the UN actually asked to go to this August 21st incident. They're saying there was a 5-day delay. Is that true? That's my question.
Mrs. Angela Kane concluded an agreement with the Syrian government with regard to her visit, and the visit was granted, discussed in details with the Syrian government, and she was granted with her team to go to the locations where the where the allegations of the use of chemical weapons are there. So there were no delay whatsoever, and she was granted access to the locations she and Dr. Selstrom wanted to visit.
Ambassador, how did the rebels obtain these gases you say were used against Syrian troops? Where did they come from?
You may be aware that a long time ago, a year ago, a couple of very important information spread all over the media, and then nobody spoke about it, but we conveyed it, officially speaking, in official letters. Among these official letters I was referring to the Secretary General as well as to the members of the Security Council. Let me enumerate some of them just to refresh your memory. The Turkish media mentioned that 12 members, terrorist members of Jabhat al-Nusra Front were arrested within Turkish territory, carrying with them 2 liters of the sarin gas. These 2 liters of the gas were taken with them from Libya on board of civilian airlines to Turkey. And the confessions given by these terrorists were that they intended to use it in Syria. That was Turkish source of information, not Syrian source of information. Then the judge Della Ponte from the investigation commission established by the Council on Human Rights in Geneva said herself that upon the information she had, the armed terrorist groups were the ones to be blamed for the use of chemical weapons in Khan al-Asal, which is the key issue related to the use of chemical weapons. Then after that, the Russian report submitted to the Security Council, 80 pages scientific analysis submitted by the Russian delegation to the Council. Then you have the Russian journalist, Anastasia Popova, who was on the spot in Khan al-Asal the same day the chemical weapons were used. And she reported a footage, documentary footage, to the Secretariat as well as to the Council. All these elements are not Syrian information. These information are from outside of Syria, and they should be taken into consideration by the investigation team. What we are saying, briefly speaking, that these terrorist groups obtained the materials of the producing of the chemical weapons from outside powers, mainly speaking Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. Sorry? Any military aggression by anybody against Syria would be an anticipation, illegal anticipation of the fulfillment of the mission of investigation currently existing in Damascus. Then this is a violation of the Charter. Article 39 of Chapter 7 states that the Security Council is the only body entrusted and mandated with the very noble mission of maintaining peace and security and preventing aggression. It's up to the Security Council only and exclusively to deal with this issue. It's not up to the United States or anybody else to aggress any nation member of the United Nations on baseless allegations that are not yet clarified scientifically and politically speaking by the investigation team. قدمت اليوم رسالة رسمية باسم حكومتي إلى الأمين العام وإلى رئيسة مجلس الأمن تتضمن الطلب للأمين العام توجيه فريق المحققين الموجود حاليا في دمشق لتوجيه فريق المحققين في دمشق بالتعامل فورا مع 3 أعمال إرهابية استخدم فيها السلاح الكيماوي ضد أفراد من الجيش السوري في ضواحي دمشق بتاريخ 22 و24 و25 من هذا الشهر. ومن الناحية الثانية اجتماع الدول الثلاث الغربية الأعضاء الدائمين في مجلس الأمن هو اجتماع والذي لا أعرف فيما إذا انتهى للتو أم لا، هو اجتماع غير قانوني، اجتماع لا يتناسب ولا يتسق مع مهمتهم في الحفاظ على الأمن والسلم الدوليين. هذه الدول الثلاث تحاول بناء توافق في الرأي داخل مجلس الأمن للاعتداء على دولة عضو في الأمم المتحدة هي سوريا بشكل يستبق نتائج بعثة التحقيق الموجودة حاليا في دمشق، وبشكل يتجاهل كل المعطيات الهامة التي أشارت منذ أشهر إلى ضلوع استخبارات أجنبية في تسليح العصابات المسلحة في سوريا ليس فقط بالسلاح التقليدي النوعي والكمي وإنما بالسلاح الكيماوي أيضا.
هناك تقارير كانت تحدثت عن برقيات سرية نشرت في بريطانيا تطلب فيها الولايات المتحدة تسليح المعارضة بالأسلحة الكيماوية. هل اطلعتم عليها ولديكم تعليق عليها؟
نعم، اطلعنا على هذه البرقيات وعلى معلومات أخرى موثقة أيضا تشير إلى ضلوع قطر والسعودية وتركيا وحكومات أخرى من بينها الحكومة البريطانية بطبيعة الحال في تحضير برنامج لاستخدام السلاح الكيماوي عبر شركات أوروبية خاصة وتمولها السعودية وقطر. نعم، هذا الأمر اطلعنا عليه وهو متاح.
Israel has provided the United States with information which led to the decision of the United States government to make this decision to attack Syria at any point in time in the future. Do you have any, said anything about it? Do you have any on that?
It has been really unfortunate for decades to notice that the American diplomacy has always been motivated by defending the Israeli interests in the area. And all this instability in the Arab world, including in Egypt and Lebanon, Syria, Libya, Tunisia, and elsewhere, and the spread of Al-Qaeda activities, and this kind of terrorist networks operating in the Sahel area of North Africa, all this has only one goal, which is deviating the attention from the Palestinian question, cornering the Palestinians and pushing them towards giving up on their sovereignty, on their sovereignty and sovereign causes. The only party that benefits from this instability in the area is the continuation of the Israeli policies of occupation of the Arab-occupied territories and the undermining of any Palestinian chance to see a Palestinian state in the area. You may ask me how. The only way to achieve the Jewishness of Israel is by creating similar experiences in the area based on sectarian and confessional examples. This is why the Western diplomacies are encouraging the creation and the establishment of new mini-states in the area based on religion, sectarian and confessional basis.
Talk about this proof that has been given to the United States about this attack by
You just need to follow what the Israeli politicians are saying around the clock. It would be very easy to understand that the Israelis are the ones who are motivating the American administration to move ahead with their military aggression against Syria.
هل تطلبون تمديد مهمة التحقيق الدولية في سوريا؟
Can you tell us how did you letter to the Secretary General of places to inspect?
Could you raise your voice, please?
Yes, your letter to the Secretary General of places to inspect. Is that different from where the team is going today?
The team has been allowed to investigate in 3 locations, Khan al-Asal and 2 other locations. That was the agreement we did with the Secretary General before seeing the team on the Syrian soil. So besides these 3 locations, the team was also allowed to investigate in the incidents that took place in Al-Ghouta, in the suburbs of Damascus. And now we are asking the team to incorporate, again, 3 more locations where the Syrian soldiers inhaled the gas, the nerve gas, also in the suburbs of Damascus. So now the spectrum of the investigation is rather increasing compared to the initial phase of investigation. 22nd, 24th and 25th of this month in Jobar, in Sahnaya and in Bahariya.
Excuse me, you are sending this letter to investigate these 3 new sites. It's like the opposition is and the Western is criticizing the government for using chemical weapons, and you are saying that the rebels who are doing that, then who is doing that?
Thank you very much for asking this question. I got your point. I got your point. I got your point. I got your point. There is no consensus in the Council on any draft resolution, whether it is British, French, or American. Number one. Number one. Because members in the Council, they don't believe the authenticity of the accusations provided by this delegation or that delegation. Number one. Number two, these three Western delegations are part of the problem. They are not part of the solution, of the resolution of the crisis. They are behind arming and supplying the armed terrorist groups with all kind of logistical support as well as with weapons. Number three, from the day one when the attack on Khan al-Assal had occurred on the 19th of March, I asked on behalf of my government, the Secretary General's assistance to two things. A, to investigate whether a chemical weapon attack took place or not. B, who did it? The Secretary General from the day one and his experts in the Department of Disarmament, as well as the three Western delegations in the Council, objected to the second part of our request, B. They objected to our request to identify who did it from the day one, because they knew who did it in Khan al-Assal. And this is why when Khan al-Assal attack by the chemical weapons occurred, the three Western nations did not move the way they are moving right now, although it was, a characteristical attack by chemical weapons in Khan al-Assal. Everybody agreed on that. But they did not move. They did not submit a draft resolution, and they did not come to the Council. And they did not raise a finger in the media to say that what happened in Khan al-Assal was wrong. 4 months and 10 days before Khan al-Assal attack took place, the French and the British and the Qataris were aware of different allegations. 4 months and 10 days. When the Russian ambassador at that time, who was presiding over the Security Council, asked the Council to meet to discuss the Syrian request to the Secretary General to send a team to investigate what happened in Khan al-Assal, the French and the British ambassadors raised their points, their fingers, and said, there are other 2 allegations that took place 4 months and 10 days ago. It was grotesque. It was a grotesque attempt. It was a grotesque attempt by these 2 members of the Security Council to deviate the attention from what happened in Khan al-Assal. And this is why you may remember that the Russian ambassador came to this place and addressed all of you by saying that the French and the British ambassadors tried to deviate the attention from what happened in Khan al-Assal, and they wanted to undermine the Syrian request to send an investigation team to Khan al-Assal. These details should not disappear from your memory. Syria, the Syrian government is against the use of chemical weapons. By all means. By all means. This is a moral obscenity. Sorry? I am saying, I am responsible of what I'm saying. The use of chemical weapons is, or biological or nuclear, is a cynical, is a moral obscenity, is not acceptable by any government. It's very paradoxal that the United States administration, which is, trying to prepare the ground for military aggression against my country, is not yet party to the Chemical Weapons Convention. So even the United States has not adhered to the Chemical Weapons Convention. This is a kind of hypocrisy when the whole issue is related to the use of chemical weapons. The Syrian government condemned the use of chemical weapons by whomever is on the Syrian ground. We want those who committed this crime to be accountable, to be held accountable, and we want the investigation team currently present on the Syrian soil to continue investigating this crime and to come up with a scientific report to be examined by the Security Council members, not by the American military or the British politicians or the French Minister for Foreign Affairs.
How you are going to respond, Ambassador? What your response is going to be, actually, since obviously there is something going on with our
We are not warmongers. We are a peaceful nation seeking stability in the area, because instability would serve only the Israeli interests. Everything taking place in the Arab world right now and called, wrongly speaking, the Arab Spring, serves the Israeli interest only and exclusively. What we are saying is that what the American administration and the British and its allies call it a military coup is not a coup. It's an aggression according to the Charter of the United Nations. So those who would commit such a crime of aggression against a founding member of the United Nations should assume the consequences of their act. We are saying that we know that the Syrian government is totally innocent of these accusations. We are sure of who did it. All what we are asking for is to give time to the investigation team operating now in Syria to conclude its works, to come up with the scientific report, to be examined by the Security Council members, away from any political or military pressure, because this threat of using force against my country's government has only one goal: undermining the mission of the investigation team, so that they will not come up with another report to the Security Council innocenting the Syrian government. The same thing that happened with the Arab League, with the General Dabi report, if you remember, when the Arab League tried to cover up a call for the use of force against Syria by the Security Council, but they failed.
هل تريدون بصراحة التمديد لمهمة المحققين؟ وما هي المدة التي تعتقدون أنها كافية من أجل التوصل إلى هذا التحقيق العلمي أو النتائج العلمية المتوخاة من قبل؟
هناك اتفاق بين وزارة الخارجية السورية وبين فريق التحقيق، الأمانة العامة وليس فريق التحقيق، الأمانة العامة للأمم المتحدة ممثلة بأنجيلا كين. هذا الاتفاق ينص على أن مدة تنفيذ مهمة التحقيق هي 14 يوما قابلة للتمديد برضا الطرفين. فإن كان يعني سؤالك بصراحة أو بغير صراحة في غير مكانه، لأنه في اتفاق بصراحة بين الجانبين على أن مهمة التحقيق هي 14 يوما قابلة للتمديد برضا الطرفين. الفريق موجود الآن في دمشق ونريده أن يتم عمله بحرية بموضوعية بعيدا عن أي ضغط سياسي أو عسكري. أي تهديد بالاعتداء على سوريا عسكريا يرمي أساسا إلى تقويض مهمة فريق التفتيش ومنعه من إتمام مهمته، كي لا يأتي هذا الفريق بتقرير إيجابي لصالح الحكومة السورية يثبت اتهامنا للمجموعات المسلحة ومن يدعمها من القوى الإقليمية والعربية والدولية عسكريا وماليا ولوجستيكيا بأن هذه المجموعات هي التي استخدمت السلاح الكيماوي. القصة واضحة تماما لكل ذي عقل ولكل ذي رشد. نحن نقول اتركوا مهمة التفتيش تنتهي بسلام ودعوهم يرفعوا تقريرهم إلى مجلس الأمن. هذا كل ما نقوله. كأنك لم تفهم ما أجبت. التحقيق مدة التحقيق 14 يوما قابلة للتمديد برضا الطرفين. We are in a state of war right now, preparing ourselves for the worst scenario. What would you ask a government in this situation to do, unless to take the necessary precautions? I couldn't confirm or negate what you are saying, but I'm not a military expert. I'm a diplomat. But if I were there, I would do that. I answered this question a few minutes ago.
Ambassador, will Syria attack Israel in Qatar? I know you are in a state of war, and you said that your government, Syrian government, is looking for stability in Syria and in the region. How much the government is looking for stability in Lebanon?
When I say Syria is looking for stability, that means the Syrian government is looking for stability. There is no duplicity in this. Whether it is Lebanon is not an external part of the Middle East or the Arab world. Lebanon is an integral part of the Arab world and of the area, of the region. So we are keen interest in seeing stability all over the area. We want peace. We want peace, and we want Lebanon to be away from all instabilities and explosions and terrorist activities undertaken by the Salafist movements and the Wahhabis, such as the ones that occurred in Sayda and Tripoli. So we are keen interest in seeing Lebanon stabilized and away from all negative impacts of this manipulation of the fate of our peoples in the area.
Is it your analysis that a US-led missile strike would actually not just be ineffective, but it would regionalize the war and inevitably suck in countries like Lebanon and Israel?
Any military aggression, it's not a military strike, it's not a military coup. This is a military aggression against a sovereign country, member of the United Nations.
Will it suck in Israel, Jordan, Lebanon?
If it happened, everybody, all the wise people in the area as well as elsewhere have warned that any military aggression against Syria would spread all over the area automatically. Those who know the area very well, they know the negative impacts of such a military aggression. We should keep in mind what happened in Iraq. We should keep in mind what happened in Libya. Aggressing Libya spread all over terrorism in Africa. The French pretended fighting in Mali and Niger and Nigeria, France is helping them in Syria right now. So terrorism will spread all over the world.
But specifically, would Syria or your allies, would they attack Israel?
We have the right to self-defense according to the Charter of the United Nations. It's up to the military command to determine how we would respond to any military aggression.
Vous accusez les rebelles d'avoir utilisé les armes chimiques la semaine dernière. Quel type de preuves vous voulez présenter aux inspecteurs de l'ONU? Quelles sont les preuves de cette implication de l'opposition syrienne?
Nous avons présenté pas mal de preuves scientifiques et médiatiques au secrétaire général ainsi qu'aux membres du Conseil de sécurité. Ces preuves sont irréfutables. Ils sont basés sur pas mal d'enquêtes entreprises sur le sol syrien par des experts. N'oublions pas le rapport russe qui est basé sur 80 pages, qui a été soumis officiellement par l'ambassadeur russe au Conseil de sécurité ainsi que Dr Selstrom. N'oublions pas le reportage documenté établi par la journaliste russe Anastasia Popova, qui était sur place le même jour les armes chimiques ont été utilisées à Khan el-Assal. N'oublions pas les déclarations flagrantes du juge Del Ponte sur son jugement que les groupes terroristes ont utilisé les armes chimiques et non pas le gouvernement syrien. N'oublions pas ce que les médias turcs avaient dit il y a un certain temps, que 12 terroristes appartenant au front al-Nusra ont été arrêtés en Turquie même, transportant avec eux 2 litres du gaz sarin qu'ils ont amené de la Libye. Donc ce sont des preuves irréfutables qui doivent être prises en considération par les experts de l'investigation. Merci bien. À bientôt.